Empire.
Welcome to the latest edition of All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Osner. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. We will be joined by Turner Sports and the Athletics' Tarik El-Bashir in a little bit. But first, Karl, your thoughts on kind of a dark period with the Capitals, but got Andre Burakovsky in the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 2018. Jeff Halpern's Lightning almost on the verge of the Stanley Cup Final as we're recording this right now. Your thoughts on the playoffs right now, as much as you've been able to kind of pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah, it's been kind of fun because I don't really have a team that I'm cheering for because
Right.
I think all three teams would be great winners. I think Colorado's been knocking on the door for quite a while, and I think it's fun to see a lot of those big names have a chance at it. And then obviously Berkey, I think it's sweet that he's
back too, eh?
Yeah, he came back and managed to get in there. So what a warrior he's been, and so I'm happy for Colorado. I've said before I like Tampa because I think it's so impressive what they're doing, and I think if New York wins, it's really, really good for our game. New York is kind of moves the needle pretty good for the NHL in terms of HRR and seeing all the celebrities that go to their games and stuff. I think that'd be
actually
great.
really fun. Like, I saw like Kenan Thompson there last night, and like all these.
Yeah.
I was like, this is actually really cool to remember. Like, famous people go to Rangers games.
That was one of my favorite things about playing there is because they usually sit right behind our benches. So you kind of during the TV timeouts, you take a second to look and see who's there, and then they get on the jumbotron. I think yesterday Jimmy Fallon did the hot dog eating contest where he dunked it in his beer and then smashed it in his face. Like, those things are fun, right? It's nice to see. It's the same thing that people say about athletes. You're so curious what they're like as just regular people, and that's it. And they are just regular people, and so it's fun to be able to see an actor, actress, or musician, just doing regular people stuff, chugging beers and dumping it all over themselves and whatever it may be. So I think that's really nice. So I'm happy for whatever team wins. I'm most impressed by Tampa. The team just it doesn't matter if they're down 0-2 in a series or 2-0 in a game. They have so much resilience. It's what you hope for from a team to be able to do that. So I think that's been the most impressive thing for me. And I guess secretly maybe rooting for them a little bit more because so many people are rooting against them. But at the same time, I'm happy for whoever wins. It's just been a really fun playoff.
Yeah, and look, the Capitals beat the Lightning in 2018 in a really good Eastern Conference Final. But I think the Avalanche remind me of the Capitals so much more because you're right. Like, they're knocking on the door for so long. They hadn't gotten to the conference final. Same thing. Like, just like the Caps hadn't gotten past the second round, the Avalanche finally break through, and just like if the Leafs had won that series against the Lightning, they could win the whole thing too. Like, once a team breaks through, right, they're dangerous to do it.
That's exactly. I think there's a lot of teams out there that believe that they're good enough. And they just need to kind of be shown that they're good enough. They need to prove to themselves, I guess, that they are. And that was the thing with the Caps. It's like we just knew, at least I knew when I was there, if we got past that second round, we were winning no matter what. And then as soon as they did that year that I was gone, I'm like, that's it. That they just need that, And I feel that Colorado's been getting better and better as the playoffs have gone on. They had. I guess a little bit of a test against St. Louis, you could say, but still not really. So it's pretty damn impressive. Like, well, they've played 2 extra games. Like that's what the Kings were like that year that they won, right? Like that's pretty damn good. And so I think they're in some pretty special class right now. But they're in the dance. But if you play a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning, I don't know. Watch out.
and I know I talked about this before, but I still see Jeff Halpern coaching the Capitals at some point in the future. Well, if he wants it, look. If I were him, I wouldn't leave John Cooper's side until you think there's no more chances of winning a championship there. But the second that window closes there and the Lightning go into any kind of rebuild mode, bring him home.
Yeah, I don't. When is that window gonna close?
At least after next season. Like, they have at least one more year after this because of the way Julien Brisebois is a freaking magician.
Yeah, they keep losing their third and fourth line pretty much, and then they bring guys in that are able to do the exact same thing. And so whether it's in the water that they drink there, and they all just all of a sudden transform into just amazing team players and be able to play that system exactly the way it's supposed to be, or yeah, they have a magician, up in the press box there that's pulling some strings.
Corey
It's hard to
Perry,
say.
you add Corey Perry and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, guys you played against for basically league minimum.
Yeah.
That's how this happens.
Yeah, yeah. You need to find those guys that are willing to do it, right? And want to play for the team that still have lots of skill, but can't maybe not, be in that top two lines anymore, or guys that have just been unbelievable third, fourth line guys their whole year. You just keep looking for it. So they're finding it, and it's pretty impressive. It's fun. It's been a really, really good playoff, I think. So I think that everybody's hopefully enjoying it. And even with the teams that are still in, they may not be your team, but they're fun teams to watch. And I think that keeps people tied in a little bit longer.
Yeah, we obviously would love to be covering Capitals games now in the Eastern Conference Final, Stanley Cup Final. We're not. We will talk after this with Tarik El-Bashir, who did a lot of TNT for that Colorado St. Louis series and also Capitals Panthers in the first round, and talk about some Capitals prospects and some other things. And we'll talk about Top Gun Maverick, which I saw with Tarik the other night. Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl. I'm AP Hockey writer Steve Wino. We are pleased to be joined by the Athletic and Turner Sports Tarik El-Bashir, who, just like we did, loved Top Gun. Because we went, Tarik and Andrew Gillis and I went to see it. It was my second time seeing it the other night. Tarik, welcome, and your son Kareem did not like Top Gun.
He didn't. So, like you said, I went and watched it with you and Andrew Gillis, and I would say it had been on my list for about 7 to 10 days. I just couldn't find the time to go see it. So I was excited that I was going to go see it with some friends. And it's always been a top 10 movie for me. I'm a speed guy. I like fast cars. And you know this, Karl, back when you were a rookie, we used to talk about all the fancy Benzes across the street at the Arlington dealership. So I like, I like fighter jets. I just like things that move fast. And Top Gun was always one of my favorite movies. I mean, top 10 in my opinion, on my list. So I was excited to see, part 2. And to me, it lived up to the hype. But I go into movies knowing that it's not going to be realistic. I mean, that, that when the helicopter turns the guns, that there's going to be something that saves, a key character at the right moment. Right. I just know this is going to happen. My 18-year-old son, Kareem, went to go see it with his mom, my wife, and his 20-year-old sister, my daughter. And he was not impressed. He told me he actually got up and went to the bathroom for like a few minutes and came back. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I've ever left a movie, like an action movie.
You desperately did not want to leave the theater.
No,
you didn't want to miss a second of this.
No, I enjoyed every minute of it. And so for me, I don't know how you guys are, but every time I go to a movie like this, I'm like, man, I should go to the movies more. And then I go a year without seeing a movie because I'm just a million things are going on. But I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, there were some emotional moments. There were some, you want to stand up and cheer moments. I had a great time watching it, but 18-year-old, not impressed.
Karl, you loved it, right?
I loved it, yeah. And so I'll say this. Normally, I go to the movies for the $15 nap, the $20 nap. Like almost every single time I fall asleep during a movie, they turn the lights down, and I don't know why. I just can't do it. So I actually have a buddy who's the same way. So a lot of times we try and time it. Like I'll nap in the middle, he'll nap at the end, and then we try and let each other know what happened in the middle. And so this one, I didn't have even a little hint of falling asleep. I was locked in the entire time. And it's so rare that a sequel can live up to the hype of the original movie. I think that it did this. And you're right, Tarik, it's a movie. It's going to be a little bit unrealistic. And if you want a real movie, then or something that's not unrealistic, you watch a documentary, right?
Right.
That's kind of the way it is. We're there to be entertained. And I would be curious to know from someone with firsthand experience, how unrealistic was the flying? Is it can they do those things? Does stuff like this happen we just don't know about? But I have no idea. So I'm going to go ahead and believe it because these people are very highly trained. And I also think it's pretty cool that Tom Cruise can do some of these stunts himself. That's pretty darn cool.
And
right?
looks the way he looks at his age. Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Botox is a hell of a drug.
He's figured something out. So I don't know. I thought it was phenomenal. And I ever since I saw it, it's been it's been, I guess, what, almost a couple weeks now. I've just been thinking about it nonstop, replaying the music in my head. So I think they did an unbelievable job.
If I could jump in for a minute, getting back to the fact that I see like 2 movies a year, I have found over the years and talking to friends who are, go to the movies way more and even theater way more often than I do, my perception of what's good and what's meh is totally skewed by the fact that I don't see many movies.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I would love to hear from someone who sees 20 movies a year. Like, where did that rank? Like for me, it's like, oh, that was amazing. For someone who goes a lot, I wonder what their opinion would be. Although I have not heard much negative feedback from the people that I've told that I went to watch the movie. I'm on a thread with a bunch of hockey dads, and everyone had already seen it before me, and they all thought it was awesome. So
yeah. I think that's Brian McNally for us, Tarik. I think he's the guy who goes to see 12 movies a year and is like up to speed on all the Oscar flicks and everything. And he went to see it in IMAX and thinks we're idiots for not seeing it in IMAX.
Yeah.
I will also tell you, Steve, that was the first time I'd ever been to a movie where they served liquor and food like during.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, it was, but there was a little too much going on for me the first like 10 minutes. Like the food stopped getting served, 10, 15 minutes into it. But early on, like I kept getting bumped by like waitresses and I was like, what's going on here? Like that was foreign to me.
Yeah.
But I did like having mozzarella sticks and a beer.
That is kind of nice. I think that experience is really, really cool. And me and Mandy used to be those people. We would go and watch a new movie every single week. We'd sometimes watch a movie a couple times because there wasn't anything new out that was interesting to us. And that was about 7 years ago, but still it's like, I feel like we've watched a lot of movies, and I think that for an action movie, like that was damn good. So I think we that's a recommend from all of us. I would say, right?
Oh, for
sure. Two thumbs up.
Yeah, that's a winner. We should probably talk hockey, I guess. Tarik was on the Colorado St. Louis series for Turner Sports. You got to hang around Andre Burakovsky a little bit. I'm curious your thoughts on Andre out there, just the Avalanche. I said to Tarik on our first segment, I said to Karl on my first segment, Tarik, that Colorado reminds me of the Capitals in a lot of ways, that they've been knocking on the door for a long while, and now that they've broken through, this might be their year.
Yeah, I got a sense during that St. Louis series, it just felt like this is their year. I mean, they did stump their toe a couple of times, but I mean, it just felt like top to bottom, they are the deepest team that I've seen in a few years. I mean, I think they rivaled Tampa from a couple of years ago in terms of this top to bottom, high end talent. Their top six, unbelievable. They're, and the other thing that really, stood out to me was, losing Sam Girard. I mean, it was like almost like they didn't miss a beat there. They're just a really good, well-coached team. One thing I was really impressed with was Jared Bednar. I didn't have a whole lot, covering the Eastern Conference, covering the Capitals full time. I don't really get a great feel for Western Conference teams or coaches during the regular season. But Bednar just has this very kind of firm, confident, kind of a little bit of swagger to him. Mm-hmm. And you can tell, and Karl, you've been in, you know how this works. I mean, it works from the head down, right? When the head coach has a certain, feel and vibe about him, it just kind of spreads throughout the room. And I feel like, that is that's kind of, it kind of permeates the Avs room. And look, I think this is their year. I mean, it looks like it's going to be Avs Lightning. I think it's going to be a heck of a series. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I still wouldn't be surprised if the Avs are the team hoisting the cup.
Well, two things on that. I will say you're 100% right. I think with the coaches, like I've had a coach that was very panicky and jittery behind the bench and in the room, and it definitely went throughout the team, and we felt that exact same way. So I think that definitely makes a lot of sense, and I think is very true. I guess two other things. Does it change your opinion on them now that Kadri is going to be out for the rest of the playoffs, and does it also change your thoughts on if they play Tampa versus if they were to play the Rangers, because and
if Braden Point is back, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So there could be a lot that changes, we get to lose Colorado's, top 3, top 4 player on their team. And then Tampa might get their top 2, 3, 4 player back. Like
Right.
there's so much up in the air there. But I mean, I think if they play Tampa, I think it goes either way. I think if they play New York, I feel pretty good about Colorado, but New York has also surprised me this entire playoffs.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what you're saying there, Karl. I mean, I think losing Kadri is a big blow. And also how this works as playoffs go on. Like you lose a key player, you're able to kind of overcome it on adrenaline and everyone kind of stepping up and filling the role. But the pyramid tightens and the games get harder, you start to miss those guys a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I think his absence will be missed more in the Cup final than maybe it was last round. But Braden Point, in my opinion, and I'm not sure underrated is the right term for him anymore because he has done it now for a few years. But there's a handful of players that I just enjoy watching, and he's one of them. And he's one of those guys too that like he's got all this skill and he's flashy, but can make flashy moves. But for the most part, he kind of flies under the radar until he pops 2 goals and has a primary assist. You're like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah.
If he's able to come back and he's healthy, and this time of year, I have trust issues. I have
you and Peter
Laviolette was day to day. He's gonna be day to day until January, until December, right? Like how close is he actually? How much is he gonna be able to contribute if he does come back? Teams are really cagey about that stuff right now. But if he does come back and is able to contribute, I still think Colorado, this is their year. For me, the if it is indeed Colorado and Tampa Bay, it's the goalie matchup is probably the one thing that worries me a little bit. Kemper was has been decent. It sounds like he's healthy and could get some playing time here, but I mean Vasilevsky when he's on, like we saw, these last few games, best goalie in the world.
And Braden Point, Karl, I think it reminds me of Nick Backstrom in that way. That like he's fun to watch, flies under the radar, and then you look up and you're like, "Holy crap! What did you just do?"
He's so smart. Like he plays the game the right way. He works his tail off. Like it's just fun to watch him dogging the puck everywhere too. And I'm not sure what he's like as a guy in the room, but he just seems like a pretty good guy too that his teammates would like. So I don't know. I think either way, Colorado's up against it in the goalie matchup. Both those. Actually, I was thinking about it yesterday too. Watching the game, I'm like kind of all the best players in this series are Russian. Like, what's going on here? You got two goalies, a couple great defensemen, forwards. They're everywhere on the East, in the Eastern Conference right now. So I think that's kind of an interesting note right there. But
I wrote about this. I didn't tweet about it, but I wrote about kind of the weirdness of that, and not that it's these guys' faults, but like you see everything going on in the world, and these guys are starring on the ice, and Igor Chance and all that, and it is kind of weird.
It is kind of weird. The timing of it is
unprecedented too. I mean, like we just haven't really in the history of sports. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 some years. I've been watching for much longer. I mean, when have we ever had, athletes playing in North America while a conflict is going on somewhere else and their country's involved? It's just unprecedented.
It's different.
I liked your story too, Steve. I did read that a few weeks back.
Thank you. Karl, you want to talk Capitals prospects thing? Let's do that first, and then I have a superstitions question for Tarik before we do the stupid questions.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, I guess speaking of Russians, and I don't think Alexeyev is Russian. He's Belarusian. Is that right, Tarik?
No, he's actually from Russia.
He's Russian, and
Alexei Protas is
Protas is okay, Gotcha. Well, then I guess we can kind of start there because I was just looking at that article that you wrote, and you have tiers of the players that are kind of up and coming and stuff, and it's fun to see Lucas Johansen on there because I feel like he's been around forever, right. And
he has been around.
Yeah, just hasn't quite been able to crack it. And, he's on your tier 1 right there. I'm just curious of talking to who was it that you did the
Chris Patrick.
Yeah, but just kind of getting the vibe from him of all those tier 1 guys, and I guess maybe we can just for the sake of conversation include Jimmy, Hendricks, Lapierre, and of all those players, who do you seem to get the best sense of being full time?
Well, it's a great question, and there's so many moving parts when you're this far out from free agency and from the draft where, I think I'm getting to Montreal early. I'm expecting
You're getting in like a week early.
Yeah, I'm expecting some fireworks and some interesting movement around the league and potentially with the Capitals. So, we're in the early stages of planning. The Capitals actually just had their scouting meetings this week at MedStar. I believe they wrapped up last night, as a matter of fact. So you kind of make your first set of plans. Okay, which prospects could help us next year? And in my opinion, and from what I hear, Lucas Johansen is probably at the top of that list. Now, he's a player who, was a first-round draft pick back in 2016, but he's had injuries. He had trouble early on kind of keeping on weight and having enough kind of heaviness to his game to be a defenseman at this level. But he had the skill. Then he had a run of injuries. Last year, a few injuries, but not nearly as serious. It looks like he's kind of moved to the head of the class, along with Alexiev, who's probably like my 1B. I would say those two are probably the closest, but getting back to the planning phase, if they pull off a trade that scrambles things around and brings in another defenseman, everyone gets pushed down, right? And that's the thing when you're a prospect in an organization that's in win now mode like the Capitals, you get recruited over a lot, and it's not necessarily because you didn't play well, and it just. Which is why, like, if I'm going into if I'm a draft eligible player this year, man, I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to get taken by a good team. You get taken by a good team, you can be stuck in junior and minors forever because they're always trying to extend that window by bringing in guys who can contribute right away and don't have to go through those growing pains. And so I do think if you look at the way the top six on the back end of right now, there is a hole for a left shot defenseman to play alongside Trevor Van Riemsdyk. And I think that could be Johansen or Alexiev, unless they sign a better player in free agency or they bring back Justin Schultz, which is still a possibility. Then that just pushes everyone down again. So,
or if Karl comes out of retirement.
That's exactly what I'm hearing is you saying I should start training again and try and make a push. Oh, man. No,
so I mean, up front, I would say, there were a lot of guys who got experience last year. And I think they're going to get some opportunities. But again, this free agent class is super deep, right? I mean, really the Caps are going to sign a $7 million player. I mean, they're going to. It's going to happen. And when that happens, everyone gets pushed down again, right? Because they just went out and got a dude who's worth $7 or $8 million, or they trade for an RFA and then sign him to a big deal. That just pushes everyone down again. I think the consensus, this is me, not Chris Patrick or anyone, but I feel like LaPierre at his age, the Capitals like overcooked rather than undercooked when it comes to their prospects. Yeah. I think they want him to get a year in Hershey and kind of, learn the pro game, get bigger, get stronger. Don't come into a win now mode and not be ready. And so I would guess LaPierre will maybe get some spot duty next year, but not full time. I think Connor McMichael steps up and takes on a bigger role. I think Joe Snively probably, gets an opportunity in the bottom six.
Yeah.
But they're question marks. I mean, Tom Wilson's not coming back till December. Yeah. So you can't totally replace his salary because his salary is going to come back on the cap. Carl Hagelin, eye injuries are tough. We don't know what's going to happen with him just yet. So again, just like the back end, lots of questions.
Yeah, I would like to see a little bit more Snively. It's what we have 7 points in 12 games, and then local product too, like and a small guy too that we all
feisty, and just kind of brings a lot of energy. I think he's got a chance. I mean, how this works, guys. I mean, you look at how contracts kind of impact. He's on a one-way contract this year and next year, or next season and the year after for $800,000. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean, you can bury that contract, but to me, that kind of indicates, okay, well, they're counting on this guy being on the roster.
And a budget player. Like, as a general manager, you look for those kind of budget players you can slide in, because when you're paying Phil Forsberg or John Klingberg or whatever $7 million, you need to fit an $800,000 cap hit in there.
Did you just put Forsberg and Klingberg on the roster?
One of those guys. Well, you just said you said $7 million player.
I agree.
Somebody like that.
Be a big name who's going to join this team, and the fans are going to go, ooh, they're going to make a splash this summer.
It'd be interesting if Forsberg would come back here. That would be a kind of a neat story.
I've done a little poking around. That would be pretty cool. I've done a little poking around. I think David Poile is gonna move heaven and earth.
I think they're gonna keep
Nashville. I think they have to.
Yeah.
I think that this is all posturing right now. I don't see him or Gaudreau really. Johnny Gaudreau.
Gaudreau's different. Gaudreau's. Yeah.
You think he might be going to Philly?
He's going to Philly. Unless he doesn't want to play for John Tortorella, but that's beside the point.
You want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
So my son, Kareem, played against Johnny Gaudreau's dad when he was coaching.
Guy, yeah.
Hollandale. Yeah, Guy. Years and years ago, back when they were like 7 or 8. And so all the players knew that, they're playing against the Pee Wee team coached by Gaudreau's dad. And after the game, in the handshake line, Guy was very complimentary of every single player on our team. Kind of had a nice little nugget for each player as they went through the line. And that meant a lot to the kids. So that's my little Gaudreau story.
Yeah, his dad's much more quotable. And I remember having covered the Flyers before, and he's like the guy. And Johnny's a little more quiet. He's kind of grown up into that now. But his dad is just talks a mile a minute. I one more before we do stupid questions next segment. You and I were talking the other night before seeing the movie about when during that Colorado series that you talked to McKinnon and he scored that night. He's like, I got to be your pregame interview every day. I'm curious how much superstitions you've seen, because Karl and I have talked about these superstitions a lot, just about players like that being like, oh, well, I talked to you today. I scored a goal. I need to talk to you every day now.
So McKinnon didn't say that directly to me. That kind of came through the people who pick the players who come, that come to the set. But I did get that vibe from Carter Verhaeghe too. It's just they like that routine, and if you follow Tom Gliddy on Twitter, you notice there are players in other series that have been coming to the podium. I feel like Corey Perry, if I'm not mistaken.
Corey Perry. They had a bit where they won every time he talked pregame, so he kept talking pregame every game.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, everyone, and Karl, you would know this better than anyone. Bruce Boudreau. I mean, there were times where we would start a press conference and you go, "Hey, Tarik, can you stand on that side of me?" I'd be like, Bruce, what are we doing here? He was like, well, we won last game when you were on that side of me in the press conference. Just can you go over there?
You're trying to find any, if you think it's going to help you even a little bit, you try and find that edge, right? That makes complete sense. We had that with the one game we would play before every game. We'd just throw a tape ball around, and if we won the game before, the same person had to be the last person to touch the tape ball before it went in the garbage. It's just these little things. And I had the same thing with pregame interviews. I hated doing an interview during warm-up. If I just threw my entire warm-up off because everything was dialed into the second. And so if I had to do a warm-up and I didn't get my one forehand, my one backhand shot in before the 3-line shooting, I was just like, I remember
you, Karl, telling me a story about how you tapped your stick a certain number of times during the anthems, and you traced the Canadian, the maple leaf with your eyes.
Yeah, that was bad.
There's a lot of that stuff. I mean, I'm not an athlete, obviously, but I mean, I know on certain days, if I have a good day, I like to repeat what I ate and the direction, and the path I took to the rink. And I mean, I think we're all kind of like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe Steve's not like that.
No. Hey, there is something to be said about a good vibe and a good rhythm, and so something feels familiar. And then Karl and Braden didn't know very much about. Sometimes you go a little overboard with it.
Yeah, well, it was funny because I had one that I always do during the anthem is because usually everybody waits until the anthem's done or just about done before they start clapping or tapping their sticks. I would do it when after the last "O Canada" was sung. I would do a one tap, another tap, and then get a little bit faster. And Carly always made fun of me for it. And so my first game back with Montreal, I went to go do my tap because I was starting, and I heard another tap. And I kind of looked over, and sure enough, it was Carly there tapping with me. I knew I'd be doing it. I was like, everybody knows what you're doing. It's just no one usually says anything because they know it kind of screws with you a little bit.
Who was the guy in St. Louis who faced the wrong direction during the anthem?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was always down on ice level, and I kind of try to pick up on some of these things, in case there's a neat little report. God, I can't remember.
Well, even if
someone in St. Louis who literally turned the wrong way while everyone else was facing one way, he turned the other way. And I was
well, even if you just watch Subban during the national anthem, he always does the same thing. He does a stop side to side. Ovi leaves early to do his skate. That used to be big. like 15, 20 years ago, even more, that guys would leave with still a couple seconds left in the anthem and start their skate. And Ovi still does it, but for the most part, everybody stands out there and waits. They wait till the flag goes all the way off.
That was Braden's thing. Like I remember Braden, like as soon as he came into the league, I was like, why do you keep standing there? He's like, I'm waiting till the flag leaves the ice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a few of us that did that. You'd wait as long as you had to until they were off the ice, and then after that, if you watch closely, pay attention. Pretty much everybody has something specific they do right after that. It's I would say most of the guys have a thing they have to do as soon as that anthem is done.
All right, I have something new to watch for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even with the sniffers, watch the guys have the sniffers. They'll have it themselves. They'll pass it to a certain guy. I had to throw mine always to Gruby, and he had to catch it. Like
someone used to hold hands as they went onto the ice. Who was that? Vrana and who was it, Steve? I used to hold hands with someone as they stepped onto the ice for warm-ups.
We need to have Jacob on the show to ask him that.
Yeah, so good. They're everywhere.
I love this stuff. When we come back, Tarik El-Bashir will be the latest victim of Karl's stupid questions. All right, enough Top Gun, enough Caps prospects and superstitions. Now, Karl's stupid questions. This is All Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner and Turner Sports and the Athletics Tarik El-Bashir. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino, and now turning over to Karl for the latest edition of Karl's stupid questions.
Yeah, well, so I don't want to completely stop talking about Top Gun. I want to kind of go off of that with my first question.
We can talk about Top Gun for a while, but we have a limited amount of time here.
It's so good. Well, okay, so I gave Tarik the rundown, so he knows what's going on. So we're going to get right into it. The first one is based off of the Top Gun talk, and the fact that I keep hearing people talk about Better Call Saul, the spinoff of Breaking Bad, which I had never seen before because I thought nothing could stand up to Breaking Bad, but everyone says it's solid. So this question is, if you can think off the top of your head, what would be your favorite movie or TV show, or if you can think of both, you can hit us with both.
Favorite TV show. I'm not a big TV guy, but I really like The Sopranos. I really got into that. That was like one series that I watched. I mean, like it was appointment television for me. Game of Thrones was probably the only other like series that was appointment television. Like I didn't miss it. And if I did have to miss it for work or whatever, I recorded it and made sure I watched it on the, when during the run back. Favorite movie. I mean, I think I told you guys at the start of this. I mean, Top Gun was a top 10 movie for me.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of, I mean, I'm a silly person to begin with. Like I enjoy having fun. I've watched The Princess Bride probably 25 times and learned something new and still like howl like a child. Yeah. Every single time I see it. So yeah, let me go with The Princess Bride and I'll go with Game of Thrones.
Well, it's interesting that you say Game of Thrones and Sopranos. So I haven't seen Sopranos, but I just heard this conversation yesterday where they didn't like the ending to that series, and Game of Thrones gets the exact same critique from a lot of people.
I agree. Both could have had better endings.
Yes. Both could have, yeah.
Yes.
Which I feel bad because Game of Thrones was so good the entire time.
Kind of ran out of steam a little bit at the end.
Yeah, but that was also probably because they were kind of going off of, they were making things up, right? The books weren't quite there, so that's why I'm interested. But for the next one, whatever it's going to be called, is it from before Game of Thrones when it all started? Yeah, so that'll be interesting because there's books written for that. So that should be fun.
I'm just getting into The Sopranos now. Like I'm in like season 2 of The Sopranos. Like I'm now doing the Sopranos bit, and I know the ending. Like there's no spoiler situation here. It's been statute of limitations. It's over. But I love it. As an Italian guy, I love The Sopranos.
Perfect. All right, I'm gonna start that really soon now. Okay, what do you think is a more awkward moment? Is it, especially right now with either fist bumps or handshakes happening, do you think it's more awkward to do a fist bump, handshake, one of these things, or more awkward when you call somebody the wrong name? Because I had this happen both times on my last trip that I was on, where I almost joysticked someone because I went in for the handshake and they did that, and I was deciding whether or not we were close enough to do something like that. But then also got called the wrong name. The guy was calling me Graham all night. It was pretty funny.
So I'm going to go with, so the fist pound handshake thing. everyone laughs it off. Like that happens to me once every couple days.
Sure.
And we laugh it off. Oh, I never, the other person will say, oh, I never know what to do either. We're good. The name thing, I'm terrible with names. Terrible. I've always been terrible. I like literally, Steve probably knows. I like someone will introduce themselves to us, and I'll turn over 20 seconds later.
Who's that?
Yeah. I totally just forget. Like I blank out. I'm so focused on remembering their face and maybe focusing on what they're saying. Yeah. I forget the first 10 seconds of hi, I'm whoever. And so during the St. Louis, Colorado series, on the plane, at the baggage carousel, and again in the hallway in front of the St. Louis locker room, I called the NHL representative Brian when his name was John. And so but he didn't say anything to me. He didn't correct me. And then I caught it. Like I saw his credentials. I was like, oh my God, I've been calling this dude Brian for like 3 days. And so I said, hey, sorry, man. He goes, yeah. I mean, like you could tell he probably wanted to say something and didn't. There's like your heart sinks. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This guy's been great to me. He's been pulling players out of the locker room and getting me the interviews. And I've been calling them by the wrong name. Why did that happen? No idea.
It's so good. Yeah, it is very awkward when you do that. So good answer. Okay, this question is because I'm going to be going on one of these trips very soon. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. Do you prefer a beach vacation, a winter vacation, or a sightseeing vacation?
I don't like sightseeing vacations. I've been on a few of those because I don't like schedules. When I'm on vacation, I want to wake up when I want to wake up. I like to be free. I like to be able to kind of, see what the vibe is like with the family or whoever I'm with and say, hey, do you guys want to go day drinking? Do you want to go to the beach? Do you want to go rent a dune buggy? Like, what do you want to do today? I don't want to have schedule.
Gotcha.
I don't like winter vacations. I'm on these ski trips. I'm just not a winter guy. I don't like cold. My people are of the sun. My family's originally from the Sudan.
This is why we're around hockey, right?
Yes, we like hockey. That's kind of a weird part of like my life. But I like warmth, and as I get older, I like warmth even more. Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure, as crazy as Florida is, I'm 100% retiring in Florida.
You're solar powered.
Yeah, right. I just like exactly. I'm solar powered. So I would say a beach vacation. We go to the beach multiple times every year. And it's funny, we're kind of in discussions right now if we want to do, Rehoboth, Dewey, Virginia, like the beaches here and go there for a couple, or Outer Banks we've done several times, or do we want to get a plane and go somewhere else? My kids haven't been out west in a long time, and I love the LA beaches. And so we're kind of leaning towards like going out and staying in Manhattan Beach for a week and just kind of hitting Malibu and going all over the place out there. Yeah. So we'll see if my kid plays junior hockey. There's a million things going on. Like, who knows? You know how this is. Like there's not a whole lot of your off season's like this long.
No kidding.
Deal with that stuff.
The beach answer seems to reign supreme, Lionel. So we need to maybe come up with another one that could challenge beach.
We'll workshop that one.
Okay, next one is it's a breakfast sandwich question because this one I'm most intrigued by. What's your ideal breakfast sandwich vessel? Is it bread, bagel? Is it a wrap?
Ooh, I got a great answer here.
English muffin or biscuit or croissant? People have been throwing in croissant, but I think that's too fancy.
I don't like croissants. I mean, we have croissants so listen, I'm on a low carb thing. I've lost 40 pounds since November.
You look great. You look great.
I got a little chunky during COVID and had to slim down for TV to get back in my suits and stuff. So I basically just cut out sugar. I haven't totally cut out bread. I'm not like a no carb dude. I'm not doing, like Atkins or anything, but I just cut down on sugar, carbs, bread, pizza, French fries, stuff like that. So let me tell you what I've been eating for about 3 months now for breakfast. The same thing every day. It's really boring. But my wife gets these sandwiches that don't have any bread from Costco. It's a egg with a piece of turkey sausage and then a piece of egg and then cheese in there. So it's a sandwich. It looks like a McMuffin, except for instead of having bread, the egg is the actual top and the bottom with sausage or with turkey sausage and a piece of cheese in the middle. So that, as boring as I am, my breakfast is exactly the same. This gets back to the routine thing.
Yeah.
I'm up. I usually wake up between 6 and 6:30, microwave the sandwich, I have we have a Keurig that I do a Starbucks pike.
Yeah.
Eat, read everything that I need to read, answer my emails, and then I have my second cup of coffee, and then I'm off for the then I'm going for the day.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a carb issue, breakfast burritos are the greatest things ever invented.
Yeah.
And everything bagels from the New York, New Jersey region with also New York, New Jersey region cream cheese. And I'm a snob. I just haven't had one in a long time. Would be my second go-to. I mean, there's just the bagels up there. I don't know what's in the water or what the deal is, but a bagel from New York City, Manhattan, is the greatest thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's unbelievable. Okay, so we'll go with no bread or burrito and then / bagel. Okay, so next question here is, if you could have the absolute exclusive Spill the Beans interview with anybody, hockey, not hockey, has to be alive though, who do you think that would be?
Wow, spill the beans. Do you remember the incident Tiger Woods had?
Which one?
Oh yeah, the car accident.
He, backed the Escalade into like a thing in his house, and like he ended up missing a tooth.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like his wife may or may not have swung a golf club at it, or like whatever happened.
Yeah.
Tiger's the reason I like golf. I don't feel like the truth ever came out there, or the whole story, probably by his own, it got buried pretty good. I'd like to know exactly what happened then. I mean, that's like the first thing that popped to mind. There's probably a million things that I'd want to know. But yeah, that'd be my leader in the clubhouse, no pun intended.
No, the Tiger answer is a top 5, along with the Michael Jordan. I think Andrew Gillis brought up Michael Jordan and like the gambling, whether he stepped away really for baseball, his dad, and that. Sure. Like among sports, like those are the two of the more like mysterious ones out there.
Yeah.
I totally think the Tiger one is a great answer, because not just that incident, but the more recent one with the car.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that we would love to know.
Yes, I agree.
So I think that's a good one. Okay, and then the last one here is, I'm going to ask you, of these 3 superpowers, which one would you like to have? They're not the normal ones with flying and teleportation. So the first one is to be able to, not just a photographic memory, but to remember everything, so anything that's happened to you, just be able to always recall. I think that would be an interesting one, but obviously you don't like it. So the next one is to be able to understand and communicate with all animals, or super hearing. So be able to hear conversations that are, let's say, like up to 40, 50 feet away, just a normal conversation, you'd be able to hear that.
Okay, so my favorite El-Bashir over my children and my wife is my 8-pound Shih Tzu. And I would love to talk to her. That said, being able to hear 40 feet away, that would just be endless entertainment. I have no interest in remembering everything. None. Like I have a limited amount of hard drive space. Like I don't want to remember everything. There's things I desperately want to forget. So scratch that one. There aren't many animals that I'd want to communicate with, except for my dog. Yeah. But being able to hear every conversation, like I can imagine I'm just thinking right now, like just sitting in a mall, like sitting in Tyson Mall on one of those nice leather chairs and just listening to everything as it goes by. I think that'd be fascinating. And I'm not a paranoid, but like every once in a while you're like, are they talking about me? I'd love to be able to kind of like, listening to see if someone that I just interacted with is what they're saying about me. So for sure, the hearing.
Yes, for sure, the hearing. Okay, I like that too. I think that's a pretty good one. I think it's a good point about some things you don't want to remember, but I don't know. I'm still on the fence about that one. I'm curious to get Weinel's opinion at some point here.
I don't want to hear I don't want to hear what anyone's saying. I don't even want to. I barely want to hear what people are saying in a normal conversation, let alone. Like I don't know. I want to hear what people I know are saying, but strangers, I don't need that.
Oh, you care less.
All right. Well, you know where that would be great. Sorry to jump in. You know where that would be great. Like being able to hear like what the first baseman's saying to the guy who just hit a single, right?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, being able to hear what Ovi is saying when he's turned around and yapping at the Lightning bench. Like, I want to hear that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
Does it also come with a translator? Like if you hear Ovi's talking in Russian, you can translate that.
Yeah, that would be kind of nice. That would be nice.
How did I do?
I'm gonna just add this up really quick here. So
there's a whole math equation here.
Yeah, I have to add it all up in my head. It's timesing and plussing and wrong name, beach, burrito, tiger. Man, actually, you got some pretty heavy hitter answers there. I think that rounds up to 192 points.
That's pretty high up there.
It's pretty high up. Everybody's starting to get a little bit better with these answers here. That puts you into the top 5 comfortably.
Oh,
congratulations.
I love it.
That's pretty damn good. Really, really well done. Good job.
That was fun.
I think Karl was buttered up by all the Top Gun talk earlier too, which is helpful. And I still think, Karl, that when you were doing the thing with Wyshynski in the car, that like you made up a number that was so high up there that nobody could catch it until I guess Andrew Gillis or somebody passed Wyshynski at some point.
Nobody has passed. Wait, yeah, by 1 point. Sorry, Julie Petrie and Angela Price.
Okay, yeah,
1 point.
Yes,
yeah, but yeah, you're right.
Your math was off that day.
But you know what? He had a really great breakfast sandwich.
He had a great answer.
That's what threw me overboard right there. So,
and Tarik had good answers about that as well.
Very good. That's why he's in the top 5.
I'll take top 5.
Yeah, you should. It's great.
Top 5, Tarik El-Bashir. I'm sure we're going to have you back on at some point. You know where a lot of the Capitals' bodies are buried from years of covering this team. But thank you for joining us on All's Caps, the off-season edition.
Anytime.
And everybody, thanks for listening. We will have Brooks Orpik on at some point this summer, talk to the new graduate, probably talk about the Stanley Cup final. I'll be in Denver next week, so we may have another All's Caps on location. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.